Video games. A world in aggressive expansion. The evolution of video games, naturally, didn't stop for decades. What used to be a simple hobby where we could call each other's names for losing, today is a sport where we can call each other's names for losing. The future is clearly digital. At least once the prices on digital stores stop being hilarious. Which means we're gonna lose our physical content. I can already imagine my kids asking me,
Daddy, why don't you feed us for over a week? Oh, and by the way, how did the games used to be in the past?
Well, Murph, a long time ago, when Portugal was more than a Spanish city, there were these little discs that contained the games.
Wasn't that for listening to music?
Why, yes it was, but it could also play games, movies, and all of that without useless services.
Dad, what's a Wii?
Go to your room.
And was it always on discs?
Not at all, my sweetie. There were a lot of formats. Some more practical than others. For instance, far longer ago, before we realized that will.i.am had no talent at all, there were these things called cassettes.
Wait, wasn't that what Grandpa used for listening to music?
It sure was, but it could also play games.
How?
Well, you see, through sound.
Dad, the doctor said that you should stop rewatching The Dark Knight Rises.
And I told him it didn't damage my brain.
Young people may find this hard to believe, but we could play video games on cassettes. I have about 5 games for the Spectrum, so let's start this marathon with Predator 2. Now that's a cover. Believe it or not, this was actually my first introduction to the franchise. I've never saw the movies nor played this game, so I only had this image. I thought it was awesome, though I never thought much about what he was actually holding. It was for the better, since for Nightmares I already had Angela Anaconda. On the back side, we can read the typical description that makes the game sound better than it actually is, and see some pictures on how the game looks like in other systems. Seriously, if you thought Activision was lazy, and it is, back then people made fun of us. They showed screenshots that had better graphics and just slapped a stamp on the cover. I would call this false advertising, but to be fair, they do warn about the version we're looking at. Not all games came in this little shoebox, but I asked myself if there was some kind of plastic mold to hold the cassette or if this just came loose. Inside, it comes with the game and instruction manual. What's worth noting about the cassette is that typically one side is for the computer to read and hold the information, while the other is to actually play the game itself. This is a process that usually takes between 3 to 5 minutes, but you're used to wait longer than that now. Since the games weren't particularly huge, they put everything about the game in the manuals, even instructions to other systems. Can you imagine doing that today? Opening the manual for a PS3 game and having instructions for Xbox, Wii, Wii U, PS4, PC, Game Boy, Game Gear. The amount of paper for it, I mean, will someone think of the forest? Now, like I said in the previous video, I don't have a Spectrum that play these games, so I'll have to resort to emulation. So, after we spent 2 weeks contemplating the face of Hillary Clinton, the game starts. It's kinda like a light gun shooter. Nothing special, but decent enough. You have to shoot everything, and that includes the guns and ammo, in order to catch them. Sounds redundant, but whatever. As you can see, the game takes place in a Friday night at Caju Sure, where everything is trying to kill us. This includes cowards throwing the slowest grenades at home, Merle Dixon, and smooth criminals. But what about the Predator? This giant amoeba is supposed to be him while invisible, and his attacks are throwing laundry baskets, just like in the movie. The controls are decent. To be fair, I'm playing this on a keyboard rather than a joystick, which is hardly appropriate for this kind of game. But even then, the game isn't that great. It takes way too much bullets to kill anything, and while it doesn't seem a problem now, As soon as it gets crowded with enemies, it becomes almost impossible. You can survive, but with the amount of health you lose, it makes the result inevitable. With enough practice, it's possible to pass the level, but it's not like it was incredibly fun, especially since the game is so slow that it's not really like it's testing your reflexes. But the manual tells us that we must not shoot, let in women, the taco stand owner, and the injured police, which is good advice for life, but where is all that people? Is this it? This mess of pixels? Regardless, if we shoot them, we lose our civil honor or something. In conclusion, I'd said visually the game is good, aside from this thing, and the controls are fine, even with the keyboard. It's just a bit too slow, and it takes way too many bullets to defeat enemies, which makes it challenging, but not for the right reasons. But it's not a terrible game, it's just alright.